at the same time. So if you're taping it, then you're going to be on camera twice.
I'm going.
Talk about pressure. Cool. Let's start now. Thank you everyone for coming. I know it's a big competition over there with the HP, but I'm very glad you've chosen this stream. So my name is Ched Smokovic. I'm co-founder of Runecast. There are 5 of us, and we are obviously experts in our field. The other guys are very much technical experts. We have VCDX in the team, VCAPs, and VV experts all around. And I'm probably the least technical of the 5, and that's probably why I was kind of punished to do the sales and marketing. So it's a funny story actually. We met each other about 8 years ago working for IBM, of all places, back in Europe. I was in Europe then. And we soon started working on big environments, on multinational companies, supporting them. IBM was supporting the IT infrastructure of those clients. And we soon realized that there are a lot of things that that could be improved. That even though we came to IBM naively thinking that it's going to be perfect, everything is processed, automated, everything, we found out that that's not the case. And we soon realized that there are a lot of things that can be improved. And after a while we said, okay, why don't we improve it? The first thing that we noticed is tremendous amount of time spent on troubleshooting. So troubleshooting, obviously we were supporting vSphere environments, and issue happens, customer is down, you start analyzing the logs, you start looking for clues, keywords, and of course googling it, and finally ending up on VMware knowledge base articles, where of course others have documented this issue. And us being geeks, we kind of analyzed the trend over a couple of months and over a couple of years. And we found out that of all the issues that have happened on our environments, 90% of them have been resolved by just going to the KB articles. So nothing, no troubleshooting, no advanced troubleshooting, no calling VMware guys, support, just going to the KB article and applying what it says there. The other thing we noticed is best practices are not followed. So after a lengthy troubleshooting session that you had with finding the resolution to this problem, you fixed one host and you say, perfect, customer is up and running. But what about checking all other hosts that for the same issue? What about other 50, 60, 100 hosts that I have? What about those? How many of those have potential of exhibiting the same issue? Best practices when it comes to VMware, right? So VMware has a lot of policies, a lot of best practices that they say should be followed in a certain configuration to prevent issues, to make systems run as smooth as possible. We found out that as the project teams were building these environments and implementing them and pushing them to support, none of the best practices were followed. So one big gap there. Security health checks. Now, as you might know, IBM is big on security. Always have been, and most of the deals and most of the wins they had come from being a secure IT service provider. So manual health checks are pretty much a day-to-day occurrence. They have teams of literally dozens and dozens of entry-level engineers going through security policies, VMware security hardening guidelines, and line by line in the Excel sheet, checking each of the servers manually. So we have one policy, and entropy is not set, and you go to all the servers and check it. So very, very much manual and tedious work. The other thing we noticed is huge amount of logs are unused in day-to-day activities, operations. So as you can imagine, as you know, vSphere and all the hosts produce a vast amount of logs that are just sitting there. If we need to do the root cause analysis, we go back to the logs, we check them, see what we can find. But ultimately, they're just being used. They're just sitting there, not being used. And finally, all kind of in summary, there's vast knowledge of information, either both online in terms of VMware, best practices and KB articles, and offline in terms of expertise, people who have built the environments, and it's only used reactively. Only when there's a problem does someone think of, okay, let's ask someone who is knowledgeable, let's find the KB article, etc. So we saw that as a big problem. Can anyone identify with any of these problems? I mean, do you have the same? Cool. So we're we're the only one. I'm glad to hear that. So we thought of about 3 years ago. Some of us left IBM at the time. We kind of came back together and said, you know what? Is this still an issue? We have obviously friends working for IBM still. Is this still an issue? And they said yes. Nothing has changed. Things. And of course, we had people working in the IT environment as well, in the IT industry as well. And it seemed to be a consistent kind of across the industry state. So we thought of, if there's no solution like that on the market, why don't we create the solution ourselves? And so we started, searching for investors, and ultimately development started about 2 years ago. And the final product and the solution to the problem that I've been saying, pretty much all of them, is called Runecast Analyzer. And pretty much that's what I'm here to present for you today. So what we do here is we proactively scan for your vSphere configuration and logs. We compare them against a vast body of kind of sources of truth on the internet. We recommend improvements based on those sources of truth, thus avoiding issues, keeping your environment in top shape, and obviously at the end, as a result, saving your time. So obviously, how do we do that? What are the sources of truth, you might ask? How do we know your environment better than you do? Well, we don't, but as it turns out, VMware does. I mean, obviously they build the thing. So we use one of the 3 pillars we use as a source of truth is VMware knowledge base articles. So as I mentioned, about 90% of the issues day to day occurring in vSphere environment have been documented and resolution is known. So we thought, we'll have it, we'll parse it, we'll have it in our database, and we'll scan your environment and we'll tell you, what issues are there to be prevented. Once we had that, we said, okay, let's extend that to security components as well. So we have best practices and blogs. We took those as well. So, VMware security hardening guidelines. You probably use and know that. So we took that, and again, in the same scan, in the same analysis, we do that. We scan and analyze your environment against that. And finally, sorry, I mixed those. So security hardening, and then of course best practices. Likewise, so VMware best practices, we implement all of them, and in the same go, we scan the environment and we tell you what's wrong and what needs to be improved. So these are the sources of truth. Then we have in the middle, we have our appliance, our solution, and of course this is your environment here. So we pretty much parse all these things, and we make your environment more secure and more reliable and more rock solid, as we call it. So what does that mean, in terms of solution itself? What does it look like? So the first thing is it comes as a virtual appliance. So no hardware whatsoever. It comes as you pretty much download it from the internet, about 1 gigabyte file. It deploys as a VM, runs as an appliance. It's very secure, so it's on premise. It stays on premise. There's nothing going on. There's no upload going to our servers at all. The only thing that is coming, you'll see later on, is the download of new definitions, pretty much like an antivirus, new definitions, new features, etc. And even that can be put in an offline mode. If you have an environment which doesn't have access to the internet, there's a file you download and apply it locally. So again, very secure and of course very on-premise. Fast and lightweight. So we've had tests, and some of the customers we have are around 800 hosts per vCenter mark. So, and in those large environments, even then, the analysis takes less than 5 minutes. In a kind of medium range environments with about 100 hosts, the analysis is done in less than a minute. So very fast, very agile, and of course very lightweight. Even in those biggest scans, the CPU and memory utilization of the appliance is very low. So again, very cool features to have. Now this feature particularly is the feature. Many of our customers have said, we'll buy it just for this feature here. So what this feature does is monitors your logs in real time. So you pretty much forward the syslogs, vCenters, syslogs and hosts and everything to our appliance, and it's monitoring in real time, searching for patterns. Now, what patterns? The patterns which are described in the KB articles. So KB article says, you know what, if this log entries start occurring, you're going to run into issues. I don't know, purple screen of death, or I don't know, anything, or even the issue that we mentioned over there. We see that and we say, hey, something's happening right now. Not only do we tell you that it's happening, but we tell you how to fix it. So we immediately pop up the KB articles, the KB article pertaining to this particular issue, and we tell you this is how you fix it. So very, very cool feature. I mean, obviously reducing the troubleshooting time by a lot. And finally, as I mentioned, continuous compliance. So we, on a weekly basis, we do an update of our appliance. That includes new KB articles released by VMware. Sometimes we do even more than a weekly frequency because there's sometimes a critical KB article out there. New best practices, new security guidelines, and most importantly, we do also new features. So when you purchase our solution, for as long as the license is for as long as you're subscribed, you get new features as well. And there's of course a lengthy there's a lengthy roadmap ahead of us to cover. Some of the recent ones that we introduced is integration with Active Directory. So all the groups and user manipulation can be done straight from your Active Directory. And some of the things that we are looking into releasing in a couple of next weeks is advanced reporting when it comes to management reporting, C-level reporting. So you pretty much report the state of your environment with a couple of clicks. So what does that? How does that relate to deployment? So you say, okay, the tool is very useful. It has a lot of features. It's lightweight. I bet it deploys in 2 days. Well, believe it or not, the whole thing takes about 15 minutes. So it starts with download. You visit our website, you download the appliance, and you download the user guide. I think it was pretty much a five-page document on how to configure and deploy it. Basic setup, setting up the IPs, pointing to the opening ports if needed, etc. Pointing into the vCenter, and pretty much clicking on Analyze Now button that I'll demonstrate as well. So once you have that, you're pretty much taking control of your environment. You can see, and trust me, no environment we scanned so far resulted with 0 issues. There are usually at least 20 plus issues identified in the environment. So it's, even if you install the vanilla vSphere deployment, you will find some issues because it's just the nature of things. So once you have that, and once you remediate those issues, of course you have improved environment, more robust, more stable, and of course you save yourself a lot of time that you would otherwise spend troubleshooting. Okay, so this is where I will show you in action, real time. Now, unfortunately, there's no connection here. I can't do that now, but I do have screenshots. So second best, unfortunately. This is what you can see. This is what you will see when you deploy and configure Runecast Analyzer. So this is the dashboard. It consists kind of 3 panes. The first one here is a summary of the issues that have been found in your environment. So the first one, of course, is critical. We have 5 here in our demo environment. 27 major and 33 medium. Now, if this was a demo, I would show you. You can pretty much click. Everything is clickable. Everything is live. So you would click on each of those, and it will show you which 5. And I'll show you that in a later slide. The medium one is a pie chart showing a number of configuration issues with number of configuration items with issues versus the ones that don't have issues. So in our environment, we are looking at about 77% of the environment needs some action. And finally, it's probably too small for the guys in the back, but this is a list of configuration items. In our case, these are all hosts, so ESXi hosts. And next to each is the number of issues for each of them. So this is kind of the top 10 contributors, if you will, to the misconfiguration and the errors in the environment. So of course this is aimed to kind of quick win situation. You know that something is wrong, so let's start with the host that has the biggest amount of issues. And in the middle here you have KB issues log found. So in this particular case it's 2. This is the feature that I mentioned is very cool to our customers. Analyzing the logs in real time. So if this says anything anything pretty much other than 0, you have a problem that is currently happening in your environment. And not only that, but when you click on this thing, it will tell you what to do straight away. Then you have KBs applicable to your environment. So how many specific unique KV articles have been found in your environment. And finally, the last two are kind of security compliance, so against the VMware security hardening guidelines, and best practice adoption against, percentage of adoption against VMware likewise best practices. The lower part is pretty much, I'll leave it to you if you want to discover on your environment, pretty much inventory object, tell you what we're scanning exactly, and corrective analysis. So you can see, for example, again, it's a bit small, but in this particular analysis, so one-time analysis, which takes less than a minute, there was about 200,000 calculations and separate analysis done. So we're checking for firmware driver mismatches, everything that has ever been defined in a KB article, we're scanning for. As I mentioned, even the issue that in U2 that is happening right now, we've had it ever since it was documented in the KB, and a lot of our customers have avoided it just because of that. And I'm glad that the patch is finally out. So the second point is, so if you were to click on one of the issues, this is what you would see. So in this, for example, in this view, we have one critical. It says here computer, so that kind of applies to computers. It affects security, and this is coming from KB articles. So in this particular case, VMware DVS sync port information of VMware. So once you, unfortunately I don't have a screenshot there, but when you click on the plus sign over there, it opens up pretty much an entry from a KB article saying which configuration item is affected. So it gives you an IP and a host name of the server that is within the issue and how to fix it. So pretty much everything you need with a single click. And likewise, it's split into severities. You have the option to ignore it. If this is intentional for your environment for any reason, you have the ability to ignore it, to save views, save filters, pretty much all the background information, all the background filtering that you want. And of course, you can export it into different formats for later review. In a similar way, we do best practices. So instead of calling it an issue, we're calling it a pass-fail comparison. So if best practice is followed in your environment, we give it a pass score, and likewise, if it's not, we're giving you a fail. And again, for those failed ones, you can open up the plus sign and read exactly why has it failed. Security hardening. So instead of all those hours lost in checking security manually or just leaving it by default, which is probably the worst thing one can do, within minutes you have this report. Likewise, pass-fail marks, and for each of those you're able to open it as for the previous ones as well. Now, this part is coming from the kind of sources of truth that we mentioned: KB articles, best practices, and security hardening guidelines. The second part now covers logs. So this is exclusive to the log analysis. These four, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 5, 6 issues here have been identified from the logs as the vSphere was up and running. So you will see that these particular strings were matched in the KB articles, and in the KB articles, you open the KB articles, tells you why has it been introduced, why is it there. It tells you what host, so this is where you can see what host and what IP address has that particular issue. And of course, it gives you heads up, of course, that you can react to it straight away. One cool feature, obviously, once we have those logs, one cool feature we do is trending. We're currently filtering for the syntax, which includes fail to. Again, it's probably too small. The fail to, SCSI errors, read to errors, and shell. So everything that has those syntax in the logs, we are saving in our log database, and you can historically see the trending over time. Many of our customers have, for example, seen a big jump of fail to or SCSI error commands just before they send dump. So a lot of things can be done, as these things are monitored in real time. But more importantly, a lot of our customers are using this as a root cause analysis tool. So say an issue happened, last week, and we want to know what happened and what caused it. Obviously, you can go through all the hundreds of millions of logs entries, or you can come here and see and filter the shell commands and see, I don't know, 10 minutes before what commands have been run on the vCenter to have, which might have caused this issue. So very much, pretty much a focused, narrow down of things that we want to do with root cause analysis. So these are the screenshots. I'll let you. This is our lab environment. So these issues were not really real ones, but I'll show you some of the issues that we prevented for our customers already. So this one, for example, was with a customer. This is how they bought our solution. They said, could you have prevented an issue where a HA didn't work, and we had, 45 minutes of downtime instead of the usual couple of minutes. And we said, okay, how did you resolve that? Well, we went to these KB articles. Well, the answer was immediately yes. We could have prevented that. So what happened there is that they have VMFS heap size misconfiguration on their environment, which meant that the VMs on the backup host or on the host which should have brought them up didn't bring them up, and that's why they had all these issues and of course increased downtime. So had they had our solution, they could have prevented it quite easily. And of course after that they said, what to sign aside. The second point is it started occurring after the U3 5.5 U3 update. I think in the middle of last year. So what happened? Has anyone experienced the issue with the failing VMs? Okay, you guys are lucky.
Failing in terms of what particular?
All right. So in case the snapshot consolidation task, there was a bug in the U3 that caused VMs to just power down. I think it was power down and just crash. A lot of backup tools on the market use that function as a snapshot feature they use. And of course, just at the end of the backup, when the consolidation task was running, it just crashed the VMs. And the customers who were running with us, who had the Runecast Analyzer installed, they prevented all that because they got the email report saying this is a known issue. You better disable this feature or change the time of the backup. Any workaround, because it took some time for VMware guys to come up with a solution.
Yeah, I think VMware rushed out U3A specifically.
Yes, and then they stopped the U3. Yeah. So again, very much proactive solution for you to avoid issues. And actually, as it happens, I think this is the one we just mentioned. So if you have U2, if you do upgrade to U2 and you have LRO enabled and hardware version 11, you are running into a purple, I think, screen diagnostic screen. So for the customers of ours who did upgrade to U2, they saw this and they could potentially remediate this in one way or the other. So let me just ask you, what issues can we prevent for your environment for you? The way to find out, so I'm happy to say that we are offering a 30-day free trial, so no commitment, no obligations, no credit cards. You're free to go to our website and download the demo, the trial. It's on a demo, fully functional. Feel free to run it for 30 days in your environment, see how it goes, see what you can prevent, and see how you go with it. As a VMUG exclusive, we're extending this trial to 45 days if you register today or tomorrow. So by all means, I invite you to welcome it, and I'll generate on the back end. We'll generate a 45-day license for you, so you can play around with it a bit more. And finally, because we are new to Australia, we've set our presence in the US and in Europe quite well. We were in both VMworld in San Francisco and Barcelona. Obviously, got a lot of traction there, and obviously established ourselves in the US and EMEA. In Australia, this is my job now to kind of get things up and running here. We are offering 30% discount to first 10 customers in Australia. So you will see, from the feedback I had in Sydney, the solution is quite affordable. Even with that, we're giving 30% discount for the first 10 customers. I think it's question time, so by all means, let me know if you have any questions.
So,
yes, please.
so if you've spoken about this in Sydney, how many of those 10 licenses are left?
9.
Oh, wow.
Yes, mind you, there was last Thursday that I presented, so yeah.
How does licensing work?
It's subscription based. We offer monthly and annual subscription. Monthly is about 35 Aussie dollars, and for one CPU socket, and annual is about 350. So you get up to 2 months free for that. Yep. Yeah, of course.
What I wanted to know was, do you have an agent or some way of extending the visibility for analysis inside of the operating system? Typically, it would be Windows, for example, because certainly there can be all sorts of ugly things that are occurring outside of the vSphere environment that are impacting an application's performance and sends people to storage and whatever else. And it's nothing to do with storage. It's all got to do with somebody mucking up an IP stack setting or something like in the registry. So I was wondering, do you have anything, or is that perhaps a roadmap thing you've got?
It's a roadmap for us, so we don't have it. We do monitor VM logs, logs that are generated by vSphere about the VM, but not inside the guest OS. So but it's on the roadmap, yes.
What about many service providers having out to the customers and having a single portal to bring all the information back to us?
I mean, multi-tenants, kind of multiple tenants. That's actually probably due to be released in the next month or two. So right now the limitation is one appliance to one vCenter. In about month and a half, I think, we are releasing a multi-tenancy. So pretty much with one appliance, you will be able to target. Not sure the number now, but with multiple vCenters. And I'm happy that you asked about managed service providers, because we had a lot of good feedback from them, of course. Some of them even thought of use cases like I can use your solution to win customers. Like I can go out to a prospect, run an analysis, and tell them what kind of risk they're in, and say let's sign up and we'll fix it for you. So a lot of uses which we never thought of originally when we developed the tool. Yes.
Yeah, I've got two questions actually. First one is, do you have any sort of alerting into sending traps or alerts into like SCOM, for example, or a plugin for SCOM? So rather than having to go to this tool, if you've got a real-time log that comes up, you can send an alert to SCOM to say, hey, we've got this issue.
Yep, it's a very good question as well. So right now we're doing Snmp monitoring, so we can send those out, and we are, because that is a common request from our customers, we are opening that up and pretty much introducing integrations with other monitoring tools. I think Splunk was on high of our list, but we can definitely talk about others as well if you see the benefit, of course. But that's definitely our where we're going.
The other one was to do around analysis. Do you have a roadmap or a plan to do a what if? So if we're running 5.13 and we go, well, we want to go to version 6.
Yep.
What will happen if we go to version 6 and it can go, well, we've got this settings, basically that what is for upgrades and stuff like that?
Yeah, I had that question actually in Sydney. So, and actually that's the first time. I have 2 sessions with 2 same questions, but that was the first 2 questions that I've been asked.
Yeah.
The answer is no, not yet. It's a very simple thing for us to introduce.
Yeah.
And I definitely see the value. Right, we want to see things. Before we upgrade, what will happen and what we need to download, what we need to prepare ourselves. So yeah, definitely a good thing. Yes.
With remediation, that's completely manual, or is there an automation to that? Like you can just say these problems, click, and it'll fix it straight away. Is that something there, or is that something on the roadmap?
So right now there's no automatic fix. We didn't want to introduce that kind of uncertainty of accidental clicks for the customers. Clicking on a live environment in production during office hours. So we want to play it safe, and of course we want to pass that safety on to you. What we do have on the roadmap as well is ability to integrate with the service management tools you might have, right? For example, ServiceNow. So you click, there'll be a checkbox next to these. You click on these, I want to fix those, click send, it goes to a change record, it gets approved, we get a feedback, it's been approved, and within the hours that the change has been approved, you can fix you can click on the fix. So that's pretty much, we thought, the best of both worlds on how to do that. That's good. Yes?
Just along those lines, inevitably, people have some best practices that aren't adhered to because, for whatever reasons, it doesn't apply or it's not appropriate in their environment. Is it going to flag every single time, or have you got a way of setting it so that, hey, ignore this every time, and perhaps there's a justification that's always there, explaining that the customer can put in and explains why, so people don't have to reinvent the wheel every time there's 30 or 40 exceptions come up?
Yep. the answer is yes, we have that feature. In the, let me just pull that up. In the screenshots, again, I'm very sorry we don't have the live demo. It will be later on tonight. We have a live demo on our webpage, so you'll be able to, without deploying it yourself on your environment, you'll be able to see the user interface and play around what it can do. Obviously, you won't see your environment, but there's a limitation. So this ignore and filter up there. There's a filter button in the settings. You're able to pretty much add a note saying, this is why I chose to configure that. Ignore it for this cluster, or this data store, or this, this data center. It's pretty much a very customizable view, and the best of all, it will not be generated in a report that should be, visible to management or anyone.
Okay, and does it remember it, or when the next update comes down for the next week, it has to be redone?
It remembers it. It's in our database.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Do you have can you get a report on that as well? Say, these are all the things that we've actually ignored. Like the security generally want to see those sorts of things.
Yeah. So security, for example, was that the security or this?
That was security.
This was security. So you see that goes. I'm not sure if you see copy, CSV, Excel, PDF. So pretty much it takes all the lines and exports into and report. I might be able to show you something which we are kind of advanced reporting, which we are introducing into the latest feature. Give me a second until I open that up. So it's still a Word file. I mean, obviously the dev guys are working on that. This is pretty much what it will look like. It's going to be a PDF. Very, very user friendly for C-level. I mean, that's what we had a lot of our customers say. We want to present to C-levels the state of our environment. So the first thing they will see is a summary, a high-level summary of the environment. So state of the environment. This one is critical, right? I mean, critical log analysis, issues found, pretty much a snapshot like you saw on the dashboard, but in a report. And then of course it trickles down. So this is a breakdown of all the issues, knowledge base, critical, major according to severity, and then again trickles down even more. Fancy pie charts, and then log analysis as well as part of the report, and finally technical data. All the issues, all the KB articles, all the as you asked security. So that's going to be released very, very soon. Does that answer your question? Yeah?
Yes, it does. Cool.
Any? Yes, please.
As ex-IBMers and as an IBMer myself, I have a lot of pain in BAU, calendar triggers, security health checks, user revalidation, all that kind of stuff. Has the Runecast team developed tools within this application that will do MEF3 collection, user revalidation, any of that, any sort of APIs directly into IBM's processes?
To be honest, IBM or incorporating with IBM wasn't on the highest priority list, unfortunately, but I don't see a reason why. I mean, all these UAT checks and all these checks are pretty much, what if or if then else scenarios. And since we already have that, in our database, I don't see a big reason for, provided of course there is a business case for, for large adoption within IBM, etc. So the answer is yes, within reason.
So I gather most of this is like information that comes from the source of truth that comes from VMware. Are you looking at incorporating other things to do with VMware, like say Cisco's 1000 Vs and stuff like that? I mean, the environments which we have lots of problems with those, so it might not necessarily be a VMware problem, but it's a problem with another vendor's product right into VMware.
Has the problems that you've faced, are they in any way described in the VMware KB articles, or are they just steering clear of those?
Some are.
Right. Well, for the ones that are documented, we are already scanning them. For the ones that aren't, it's a bit tricky because obviously we're depending on multiple sources of truth. But I mean, on the long roadmap, we're developing different platforms. So not going with VMware, but developing for other solutions such as Cisco. So the answer is, if it's currently defined in the KB article or in VMware KB article, then of course some of our customers even nick drivers, right? I mean, that's not necessarily a VMware thing, but again, it can be found, and it is found, and firmware driver mismatches. All these things are already found in the current release.
Does Runecast, does it plug into the compatibility matrices, like hardware compatibility matrix? Let's say, for instance, vSAN needs particular controllers, firmware, disks, that kind of stuff. Does it plug into that and assess on that?
No, not yet. There's also one of the questions from Sydney as well. We are, again, I don't see a big problem of incorporating that, but it's not currently available now. And I see obviously a big value in having that as well. Do you agree? I mean, would you guys?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Do you, so once again, if there are no more questions, I'll definitely leave you on. I'll definitely invite you to trial the product. Again, no obligations. You pretty much have nothing to lose. And if you register today and tomorrow on this website, let me see. This is where you register. We'll extend the trial to 45 days. And finally, if you have any questions you didn't think of now, by all means, drop me an email or you can find me online, and I'll be there to answer.
Yes. One more question. So you talked about the offline update and stuff like that.
Yes.
Do you have like an agent you can put out in a DMZ where you can get the updates and then pass it to like security and does a vetting before it's incorporated in there? So how does that offline update work?
It's currently manual. So when you log on to our portal, you'll get a file, update file, which you download yourself, and you're free to distribute it, or follow any procedures you have internally. So it is manual, in that sense.
Can you talk about the number of customers?
Right.
Who's your biggest customer?
It's not yet to be revealed. The biggest customer, as I mentioned, is close to 600 hosts per vCenter. And of course, they're seeing a big benefit, just in troubleshooting and security.
How many hosts are you covering at the moment?
Sorry?
How many hosts are you covering? Like, there's 600 in your biggest customer.
Yeah. Let me see. Short of 50 customers worldwide in 8 months since we released the product. I would say, I don't know the number, but I would say more than what is it? A couple of thousand, maybe 3, 4 at least.
What round of funding are you at? Round A?
Pre-Series A.
Okay, fantastic. Who are your backers? Can you say that, or?
It's Czech investor. So we were lucky enough to find them pretty much when the whole thing was just an idea, and then of course they jumped in and helped us grow to where we are now, and so we're moving to Series A. I think hopefully this year.
Cool.
Just wondering, it sounds to me like not a whole lot gets fed back up to you guys.
Not at all, nothing.
Yeah, okay. Just seems to me like a potential opportunity missed in the sense that overall, as your deployment base gets larger, you can start to allow things to bubble to the top, to the surface as common problems, which potentially, enable you to provide that feedback even to VMware and say that these are things that we typically see, and they can then take course of action to set defaults or change parts of the product.
And then they might acquire you.
I will not comment on that, other than to say obviously we've been to VMworld, so I think about 10% of the leads we acquired were from VMware. So there was a big interest, as to what we're doing, how we're doing it, and what benefits can we bring to VMware. So I see definitely your point there. Right now, all the customers, or majority of the customers we have, especially the big ones, they don't want to allow anything to come to us, to be uploaded to us. Having said that, there might be, in the future, an option saying, checkbox saying, allow participate, and then of course we'll have that. As
one suggestion: if you ever do that, make sure that you can absolutely obscure anything that most companies don't like.
Yes.
A lot of vendors do have that callback or call home feature. None of them obscure it natively, so you have to trawl through hundreds of logs yourself and create your own tools.
Okay.
It'd be nice to have something inbuilt for a change. Yes, you can send it, knowing that security doesn't have to do too much.
That's right. And you can do Wireshark and check our work. Cool.
Confused though, what would be the benefit of doing that though? Pushing it up so everyone else can see it? Like there's no
to analyze
Trending pretty much.
but for who? So you've got the problem you don't want to give it back to VMware. Why help VMware out? It's not helping you.
It could help
Yeah, customers-
Runecast work out how you're using the product and what benefit you're getting from it.
Could also help Runecast bring customers too.
Yeah, yeah.
We're preventing these problems with so many customers.
Yeah, what's the benefit of the product? You know, what's the end benefit to the user?
One other potential one I see is like, if you're getting logs, or errors in your logs, which aren't being covered by a knowledge base, there is obviously something going on that's not picking it up, but you can still actually bundle up those logs, vetted, to either feedback to them or feedback to VMware with. So that can then become a knowledge base article and a fix and off it goes.
I mean, again, I think you mentioned why give it to VMware. I mean, obviously, for a price, why not help the user base at large?
If it's for a price, I understand. Everything makes sense now.
Well, I think it works for these guys to establish a strong relationship with VMware. They can turn around and change their configuration of their KV articles every second week, and that will cause all sorts of anguish. I think it's a mutual benefit, right, for VMware to improve customer satisfaction. They're not the only hypervisor on the market. And for Runecast, I mean, you can bet VMware have got overlapping products. I mean, when I worked there, several come to mind straight away that overlapping in common functionality. Heck, you're using their hardening tool, right?
Yeah.
So,
Well, not directly, we're just using the policy.
I understand the policy, right? Not the tool that actually, I understand. But, so, it's in everybody's interest, and that's where VMworld is, to build that ecosystem. So, I guess I think it's a mutual thing, and certainly it raises their Runecast's profile as one of these valued players in that ecosystem. But if you're looking to optimize your environment, securely harden your environment, hey, let's just go to Runecast, and they have a tight relationship with VMware, and they can not only help you, but they can also help VMware to improve their product's usability and robustness. So I don't know, I see it as a mutual thing, but I'm not a bean counter, so
We'll see what happens. Definitely, I mean, a lot of things on the table, and we'll definitely. Yeah. But I'm happy you. Yes.
So one question, you may not want to answer this in this forum, but are you looking at other hypervisors to do this with? Other hypervisors, like outside of the VMware sphere?
there's another hypervisor.
I've heard rumors.
I never heard of one. The answer is yes, but not in the near future. I mean, obviously all our expertise are with VMware, and that's why we started with VMware. Of course, the biggest percentage of market is VMware. But obviously the roadmap, I mean, the IT industry at large, I think, is, well, to my opinion as well, is crying for solutions like this, which will now kind of eliminate the tedious work and focus on innovation, as our slogan says, less troubleshooting, more innovation. So, focus our brains on something more creative than these things. But yes, definitely in the far future. Cool. Any more questions? Guys, thanks very much. You've been a great audience. Oh yes, the raffle. So don't tell me that's the only reason you're here, but the SSD.